Rightio. Thank you for everyone for being here today, and Jane for providing the opportunity. So I'm going to talk about Kaiser Reef. We're a gold producer. I feel a little bit out of place here today with everyone talking about specialty metals or biotech, but I think the world is in an interesting place, and gold is more important than ever. Even in Australia last year, we increased the amount of money flowing around by 8%. Like say, your dollars in your pocket have decreased in value by 8%. That's just here in Aussie. So for me, I'm a gold bull, and the case remains very, very strong. I'm going to talk you through our assets of Kaiser as a company. The last 12 months and a bit, we've effectively rebuilt just about everything that we do. So we have a really strong production base. We have the Henty Gold Mine down in Tasmania. So the day here in Sydney is absolutely fantastic. Just coming from the west coast of Tassie, where you get sleet and snow, and never quite gets cold enough, so everything just melts and it's mud all of the time. So we've owned the Henty Gold Mine now for 12 months. We produced 26,000 ounces last financial year. We've given guidance for 30 this financial year and 35 next financial year. Costs down there are very, very fixed, and anything we can add to production it makes our all-in sustaining costs very, very much better. We've got 5 years in front of us. But Henty, I think the upside there going forward really is the exploration just outside that mining position. It's been held by some great companies, including Barrick in the past, but nobody's ever got out and done regional exploration. And when that was done in the past, it was owned by the guys that owned Mount Lyell and were chasing up for Rosebery, so it was all base metals. So Henty itself, 1.4 million ounces produced at 9 grams per tonne, and was found effectively by accident. So drilled out, there's a deposit that was drilled out for base metals, and nobody ever sampled for gold. They came in to Tassie in the 80s and started doing the work on the hydro, and lo and behold, there's gold in the streams. And so you go and resample exactly the same core, and there's a gold mine that's now produced 1.4 million ounces. We have base metals occurrences all over our tenure down there that has never ever been sampled for gold. And everybody that's been down there in the past has been focused on just getting the most out of they can, out of the little postage stamp that's Henty, but there is a heap more to go. But that's not the exploration story that I would like to talk to you about today. I'd like to talk to you about Molden in Victoria. So just a little bit south of Bendigo and right smack in the middle of the Golden Triangle in Victoria that's produced 77 million ounces. We really like Molden. I really like it because nobody's been down there and had a crack and done it properly in terms of what we would consider is a proper exploration process. It's been held by companies that have seen something shiny and overcapitalised or had no money or whatever the case may be, but it's never been done well. We like Molden. It's got a little deposit in it called Nuggety that produced 300,000 ounces at 187 grams per tonne, 6 ounces to the tonne. It's widely recognised as Australia's highest grade mine of any substantial size. Obviously there's stuff that's been pulled out 5,000 ounces here and things like that might have been a little bit better, but that's just one of 6 operations that sits in the Maldon Goldfield that we have all of that produced 1.75 million ounces at 28 grams a tonne. And in 170 years of existence, it has never had a proper and comprehensive exploration project. This was in WA, or maybe even sitting in some more easier places to access in New South Wales, it would have been worked over multiple times. So we've got the Henty Gold Mine, and it's given us an opportunity to step back for the last 6 and now sort of 8 months and really say, righto, if we bought this project now, and there's been some management changes in Kaiser as well, but if we brought this project in and it was greenfields and we didn't know what was there, what would we do? Right? We'd set about doing all the baseline work, so everything from LiDAR and aerial photography, and we find hundreds of workings that we didn't have on any maps, and no surprise because Molden as a goldfield once upon a time, or before the 1900s, had over 1,000 companies registered mining on that field. That is all now in one lease under our control. We put the database together. So we now have twice as many drill holes in the database as we had before we started. We digitise all of the old development plans and workings. So again, our digital records over the last 6 months have grown by 100% in terms of what we can say has been mined and developed in the past. Data came from all sorts of places to put all that together. Obviously, sheds and sea containers and libraries and historical societies. The last lot of data we got was out of the Mechanics Institute, a big old book and records of mine production for 100 years ago. We've just done a soil sampling program, which should be one of the most basic things you do on a new bit of ground, but in reality it's the first time it's ever been done. We can't do all of the tenure because of existing infrastructure and people and places, but the northern half is still under Crown land. Nice easy way to confirm that there's potentially at least half a dozen good drill targets there. For soil sampling, results up to 2.7 grams, multiple above a gram. So it looks fantastic on the percentiles, but the absolutes there are fantastic as well, and really just highlights that we are sitting over the top of a goldfield. We've done some sterilisation drilling, again, like first time that we're aware of it's happened there. Just a little shabby result there, 8 metres at 4 grams under where our tailings dam's supposed to go. So we've just done some proper holes into that recently, and we'll see what they come back with. Resistivity survey, so we've been able to map some of the underground voids from surface. The data is nowhere near complete, and again, we've done that first at Nuggety, and instead of seeing what's presented on some of the old plans from the 50s and 60s in terms of stoping shapes, we see these really weird conical shapes that run down into the mine. And first response when you look at that is it's crazy, like that can't be right. And there was a shaft there called the Tarrangower shaft that eventually consolidated all that. But you go back even further and you look at where the boundaries of the old original pocket-sized mining leases were, and these conical shapes match up to all of those. So despite the fact that we've got and certainly not a JORC's compliance statement here, but despite the fact that we've got 300,000 ounces come out of that, we're now looking at shapes that indicates there's some pretty big pillars left behind in between some of those workings. So certainly keen to get into that. So we've taken 6 months back there to really set the foundation. We have a surface drill rig there. Now we've built our own core shed and core cutting facilities and all the things you need to do to go forward. That's all running. We've got first drill results waiting for assay at the moment. We'll have drilling results continuing, and that's all well and good, and that's what looks like as an exploration project. But more relevantly, we are sitting on a mining lease there that is effectively 4.5 kilometres long and 2 kilometres wide. We have a 3 kilometre long decline running into it, and it's fully permitted for operation. So if anybody keeps track of what happens in Victoria and how long it takes people to get things approved, or some of the big projects down there now that have just been approved for exploration declines because they don't have any visibility on a mining lease, we are certainly sitting in a unique position to be able to develop an operation in Victoria. So, we are drilling and blasting right now. We're refurbishing that decline. And a couple of places it gets a little bit small, and we're stripping that out to 5x5 so it's fully set up for production. We're not going in there to do it twice, we'll do it once. And like I said, to say, a fantastic position, and we will drill from underground. Ultimately it's cheaper than surface, and that's how we'll get there in defining loads. And on top of that, we have a processing plant that's in operation. There's 5 processing plants that are in Victoria that are running, and we are one of them, thankfully. 200,000 tonne per annum capacity, a conventional CIL circuit. We've got visibility on 5 years of low grade. So when we talk about this as an exploration project and getting going, we've got a decline, we've got fully permitted, we're drilling and blasting, and we have a process plant. So a couple of decent results, and I think you can really start to see this as a mining operation and no longer development. I've committed to exploration development on ore or mineralisation early next calendar year, early 27, and that will just go to the mill and be part of our feed. So hopefully there's some interest there. Kaiser, I think we are sitting very, very cheap, $80 million EV. We've got 2 processing plants, one in Victoria and one in Tasmania. It would cost $200 million just to replace our infrastructure there, and we've got resources and potential to keep both of those ticking along for a very long time. Look, hopefully, like Jason said at the start, if the value's there, the market will eventually come to realise it. I think that's where Kaiser is. We've done a lot of work. We should have a lot of news flow coming out this next 6 months, and hopefully the market can come along on the journey. Drilling now, news flow, please add it to your watch list. Thank you.